Today I'm going to show you a simple strategy with the Necromancer to straight up delete enemies without actually needing a single aspect or unique. Yep, that's right. There is not one aspect or unique necessary to make this build work. So if you're the type of player who enjoys methodically hunting and trapping your enemies, then this video is for you. Here's how it works. Step 1. Curse with Decrepify to debuff and greatly slow their movement. Step 2. Use Reap for a guaranteed corpse drop. Step 3. Use the Strangling Tentacles to group and immobilize. Step 4. Explode the dead bodies, stacking tick damage. And Step 5. Send in the Iron Big Daddy to stun them in place. Then finally you can use Sever to finish them off. Our goal is to keep the enemies limp and lame, crowd controlled within our damage area, which is why Decrepify is perfect for this. Decrepify will not only debuff enemies, but more importantly reduce their movement speed by over 50%. This basically puts them in slow motion. Using that plus the stun from Iron Big Daddy, this will keep enemies trapped inside our black hole of damage over time. The strategy behind this build is to drop as many corpses as possible, so you can explode them all and rack up as many stacks of tick damage as possible. There is just one passive effect you need to make this work. Hued Flesh. Now, this 12% chance to drop a corpse, that counts for every single damage ticked on every single enemy. So, with the tick damage from the Darkness Corpse Explosion, combined with slicing them up using Sever, we will cause a flood of dropped corpse. It'll be raining rotting bodies, which allows us to explode them, adding even more stacks of tick damage. It gets to the point where you are just standing there in one place, popping dead bodies, and enemies are dropping like flies. It really is a beautiful experience. I highly recommend it. I'm slowing this footage down so you can see just how quickly they are spawning and immediately dying. This will even work on a boss. My dude is so shook he can't even move. He got 8 legs but can't move a single one. I guess the game just broke from too much tick damage. Now you might be thinking, using Blight would have better synergy here. Blight is shadow damage over time, plus it can slow down enemies by another 25%. So combining that with Decrepify, that's over 75% reduced movement speed. This seems perfect, yeah, but I've realized that it's not a good idea to have damage over time be our only form of attack. In some situations, you want to whip out fast damage at a moment's notice. So that's why Sever is the best option. Quick damage, long range, and up close. Plus, it adds to the Grim Reaper aesthetic. And there's 2 reasons why people play the Necromancer class. 1, to resurrect an army of dead bodies, and 2, to use a giant scythe and cosplay as the Grim Reaper. So I know it will be tempting to use all the minions here and stack up a small army, but just using the golem is perfect. When going for maximum tick damage, this is your best option because this way you are free to explode all the corpse laying on the battlefield. You don't have to worry about the balance of using some corpse to heal your skeletons and some corpse to explode. No, screw that. Just explode them all, okay, and get the most damage possible. So don't worry about the skeletons, but the golem though. The golem is necessary, man. He's the Iron Big Daddy, you need him. I use the Iron Golem because he can stun and it makes enemies vulnerable. This build doesn't have many options to proc vulnerability, so we gotta take it anywhere we can. This big boy also got buffed recently. Iron Golem Slam increased from 25% to 175%. That's big boy damage right there. We benefit heavily from not using the skeletons. First of all, we get their sacrifice bonuses, 15% increased shadow damage, yep, it's very nice, and increased vulnerable damage. We also won't need to throw levels into the skills that would buff our skeletons, so we can save those points and use them for something else. As you can see, I don't use my basic skill at all to build up my essence. Simply consuming corpse is plenty enough, because of Grim Harvest. Generates essence for every corpse consumed, and that's all you need to spam your skills and continue the chaos. There is also a way to receive health with every corpse consumed as well. The aspect of the Embalmer. I'd say at least 5 to 10 blood orbs will drop per mob, even more with the Blighted Corpse Tendrils. So with this, you'll have plenty of blood orbs, and you can use these to activate a bunch of different skills and effects. Plus, obviously, if you're injured, just take a quick stroll through the battlefield there, and you'll be back to full health. Just to be clear, the aspect of the Embalmer is not necessary, but can be very helpful. And again, just another example and reason why dropping so many corpse will open the door to all types of opportunities and effects. So now that I've proven this build can work without any aspects or uniques, let me now show you some aspects that can optimize this build and take it to the next level. A nice upgrade will be using an ultimate skill. Switch out Decrepify and instead use Bonestorm. But in order for this to synergize and be powerful, we do need the aspect of Ultimate Shadow. Makes Bonestorm become a darkness skill. And that's good obviously because now it will synergize with all our shadow damage effects and buffs. If you do this, I highly recommend using the aspect of Shielding Storm. I swear to God you're invincible when using Bonestorm with this aspect. You turn into God for 10 seconds. As you can see right here, these spiders were busting my balls because of that damn poison damage. But once I activate Bonestorm, it's over for them. My health doesn't even flinch now. Because this build is damage over time, it does not have immediate damage, so sometimes you can end up in a pickle. This ultimate is your lifeboat, it's your savior. Anytime you're in danger, you just pop Bonestorm, then you and your Iron Daddy are damn near invincible. Stack on the conceited aspect as well for even more power. But that's not all. Because of the aspect of Embalmer that I talked about before, having so many blood orbs on the field, the fast blood aspect will really help and make a big difference in reducing the Bonestorm's cooldown. Pretty straightforward synergy there. Of course, we have aspects to buff our damage as well. The Blighted aspect and aspect of Decay. Because of all the damage ticks, we do indeed proc Shadow Blight very often. So as you can see, I'm using the Blighted aspect and it is easily activated. You can watch on the bottom of the screen. Every time it says gained Blighted, that is activating a 6-second buff that is increasing all of my damage by 220%. And that is constantly being activated. It's essentially a constant buff. 220% increase, dude. That is buck wild. Drop one of these on a two-handed weapon and man, just look at that. When I found this sword, saw that 220% damage increase, I nearly bladed in my pants, dude. Whatever the fuck that means. The aspect of Decay is also good. I recommend at least one of these two aspects. So this is a certain type of playstyle, slowing down enemies right into your trap, more methodical, basically the opposite of a druid or a sorcerer. But that doesn't mean it's slow. No, this build can jump in and delete mobs. Speaking of that, this build works vastly different fighting mobs compared to singular enemies. The more bodies in front of you, the easier it is to stack damage, but against a single enemy it can get tricky. Bosses aren't too bad actually, because hewed flesh is doubled against bosses. But the main problem is those strong elites, those lone warriors. This is when being able to slow them down so much really comes in clutch. Slow them down, try to stun them using Iron Big Daddy, get at least one corpse to use Tentacle Grab, and finish them off with your Sever. But fighting against a group of enemies, that's easy money. This build is designed for melting through mobs. I'll go through and quickly give you any leveling tips or combat tips that are important. For example, the basic skill Reap. We barely use this attack. You do not need to throw all 5 levels into this to buff its damage. No, it's not worth it. Just make sure you got the skill to drop a corpse and that's all you need. Sever on the other hand, we do want strong. Sever will pump out quick, immediate damage in situations that we really need it. Hewed Flesh is another priority. Fully upgrade all 3 levels of that as soon as possible. Down here, of course, we need the Blighted Corpse Explosion to make this build work. Corpse Explosion and Sever are what we get 99% of our damage from, so this and Sever are certainly the priority. We want Grim Harvest and Fueled by Death. Obviously, both of these will be activated constantly. These morph skills on Decrepify aren't too important. I don't even use them half the time. Corpse Tendrils, though, does indeed have important skills. So good, I can't decide on which to use. If you are taking advantage of blood orbs in some fashion with an aspect or a skill, then this is highly efficient and will spawn many orbs. But the skill that guarantees to make enemies vulnerable, this is a game changer and will drastically increase your damage. This will be one of the few options we have to make enemies vulnerable, and like I've said before, vulnerability is the king of all damage types. So in general, I would recommend using this. All the shadow damage buffs right here are great. We want the Iron Golem nice and strong, and without minions we can use these skills here. If you are using Bonestorm, of course, grab these, and then Shadow Blight as the passive. This is my equipment when using the ultimate skill, Bonestorm. If you're not using an ultimate skill, then obviously you won't need half these aspects. Pause the screen if you'd like, but I do indeed have a link to the whole build I've uploaded in the video's description, so check out the entire written build down below. And make sure to join the conversation and leave a comment with your thoughts and opinion. Thank you for watching, my friends. I'll talk to you later.